don't mind twirling around to the left for 1 second, there's another 1929 Art Deco. Remember on the way down we talked about the Daily News? Look how plain a facade Halliburton Group did with their design, whereas the one we're focusing on now on our right, the comedy, the tragedy nest, much more ornamentation. Two firms, same year, both Art Deco, but each saw it differently. This was done for Sam Insel, the power company magnate. And Insel thought he could pour money into the opera from what he made in these towers. He did everything right. Catch a train that ran right after the performance. Remember, the trains are right across the way here. However, the first opera, Aida, opened 6 days after the stock market crashed. Dismal failure. The opera went under, the towers went under. Mr. Insel was found dead of a heart attack in a Paris subway in 1938, and they looked in his pockets. The story goes he had less than $1. There's so many sad stories from after the crash of 29. I should tell you today, the Lyric Opera is housed in that structure. They're doing fine. There are tenants in the office towers on either side. The same architects who did the Civic Opera building, if you look to the right, did this in 1958. Now this one used to be known as Morton Viacol. Today we call this General Growth Properties. What you're viewing, see the stainless steel panels, and then the Indiana limestone. Now underneath that's reinforced concrete. But that building was finished in about 1958. The current occupant, General Growth Properties, they manage and own different shopping malls. One of their holdings is Water Tower Place, the favorite shopping site in the city. Now the next building, when we come beneath this bridge, you look up to the right. Actually, we're going to omit this building. I remember saying that one day, and this passenger raised his hand. He said, "That's my office." But the back side of his office, which we'll see more clearly in just a second here to the right, is such a significant structure because it's a survivor building. We were all on this river about a century ago. Look at the little ironclad building up here, the brownish red brick building. This is the scale of what we would see. The building itself today is called the Great Lakes Building, done by Halliburton Roach in about 1910. But it's the Chicago school style again. Remember where the iron or steel skeleton holds up the building so you can have much more of a glass curtain wall. This case, it's a steel skeleton. The glass curtain wall, you would all say the same thing. Obviously, that's not circa 1910. The windows have been redone. The pretty plaza here with the ginkgo trees. So you really have to use your imagination. But in terms of scale of the Chicago River about a century ago, this is the type of what we would have seen. Now, I have to give you a little bit of trivia here. Guess what somebody did in this building? The ivy is beginning to dissipate a little bit this time of the season, but somebody dubbed that building the Chia Pet building. Next door here, as we come back to the main branch, the first 3 structures on your right are all done by Cone, Pedersen, and Fox, the firm that did the 311 South Wacker that sits just south of Sears Tower. The first one here behind the mustard-colored train bridge, very dark tinted windows, stainless steel mullions. That one opened in about 2002, and that's offices. And that's called 191 North Wacker. But guess what sat there in 1860, or approximately there? They constructed a building close to that site in 1860. The building was built in 5 weeks. It's called the Wigwam. And that's where Abe Lincoln received the Republican nomination for president. The story goes that Lincoln was the favorite son here in Illinois, and when he finally won the nomination, there were such screams of delight amongst the locals who were inside and outside. They shot up a cannon on the roof of the Wigwam. You could barely hear the cannon shot. Next door to the old Wigwam site, the building with a curving green facade, this is the Modine building, or 333 West Wacker. And I have to say to you, this building was done about 1983 by Cone, Pedersen, and Fox. It's what we call contextualism. Remember we mentioned contextualism on the south branch? The building reflects its context or its surroundings. The context here, of course, with the curve of the glass and the tint of the glass is the Chicago River. This building is the winner of a competition that the Tribune hosted some years ago and said, "Hey, Chicago, vote for your favorite building." The Modine building won. I don't know if they would again if they at the same competition today. The third Cone, Pedersen, and Fox is up here on our right, and this one was done about 1989. And it's about 30 stories of offices. Over the facade, you'll see 225 West Wacker. If you look up, watch your eyes, you see those futuristic towers on the top there? Those are thought to be a postmodern tribute. We don't mind twirling around to the left here one more time. See the merchandise market municipality. It's not the newer building on our right is paying tribute to its older neighbor on the other riverbank. Now, if you look beneath 225 West Wacker, you're starting to notice a double level of roadway on our right. What's this? Well, we locally call it Wacker Drive. But more importantly, in terms of our the history of the city, this is part of Bowling Square, built by Chicago. Wacker Drive is the kind of former ring around the front of the city here. Just wait a second. Okay. And Vernon presented this plan to Chicago Plan, which you've already mentioned, in 2009. This portion of it wasn't built till the mid-20s. They named it Wacker Drive. The chairman of the Chicago Plan was Charles Wacker for about 17 years. Wacker had to execute all these ideas that Vernon and Bennett had come up with earlier. So if you look to the right now, above Wacker Drive, you see what we call the Builders Building. You see the gray brick and gray terracotta here on the east. That was done about 1927 by Graham Anderson, Coates and White. The back side with the dark tinted beige, much younger, about 1986. That Skidmore orange mural. Across the top, that 5-story glass mansion roof ties the old and new together. And some critics say, very nice way of doing such, the glass mansion roof. The last building here on your right is back to 1930. This is by Oliver Creek. This is the same year they did the Board of Trade. This one called LaSalle Wacker. I'd like to point out one element here. Do you see where the flag is in the center? That setback, that's required in our city. All the Art Deco stuff between the 20s and 30s. Why? Keep shadows off the street. Give you some light in your office. What happened in the water here beneath where the LaSalle Wacker building was constructed 15 years earlier? To our right, this is the site of the Eastland disaster. The Eastland was an excursion boat setting out with Western Electric Company employees for a picnic. Remember, after the Titanic disaster in 1912, so many vessels had been re-outfitted. The Eastland had heavier cement floors, had more lifeboats. By 7 in the morning, there were a couple thousand people across the board. Leaving one side, the engineer adjusted the balance, but it's awful there in the river on the other side. Once over 800 people, more perished there than in the fire. On July 24th, the Coast Guard has a memorial at that spot in the river. On your right now, this is a design done by a Spanish architect named Ricardo Bofill and the local firm Stefano and Partners. It says 77 West Wacker at the street level. We'll let you